Chapter 10. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat heard of it, for he was in Egypt, whither he had fled from the presence of King Solomon, that Jeroboam returned out of Egypt. And they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all Israel came, and they spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make you the grievous service of your father, and his heavy yoke, which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve you. And he said unto them, Come again unto me after 3 days. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam took counsel with the old men, and he stood before Solomon his father, while he yet lived, saying, What counsel give you me to return answer to this people? And they spoke unto him, saying, If you be kind to this people, and please them, and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and took counsel with the young men that were grown up with him, that stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel give you, that we may return answer to this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke that your father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spoke unto him, saying, Thus shalt you say unto the people that spoke unto you, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy, but make you it lighter unto us. Thus shalt you say unto them, My little finger is thicker than my father's loins. And now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, as the king bade, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered them roughly, and King Rehoboam forsook the counsel of the old men, and spoke to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add thereto. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So the king hearkened not unto the people, for it was brought about of God, that the Lord might establish his word, which he spoke by the hand of Ahijah the Shilonite, to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. And when all of Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to your tents, O Israel. Now see to your own house, David. So all of Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel that dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then the king Rehoboam sent Hadoram, who was over the levy, and the children of Israel stoned him with stones, so that he died. And King Rehoboam made speed to get up to his chariot, to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. And remember, yesterday Solomon had died, and Rehoboam, his son, was reigned in his stead. And we could find this in the book of Kings, and this exact subject matter we could probably we'll find the reference of Ahijah's words in here, the brother of God, or one from the same understanding as God. He would be referenced in 1 Kings chapter 11. We're going to go ahead and pick it up here in verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And Rehoboam is that which is widened, or that increased of the people. And he goes up to Shechem. Shechem is a place, Shechem means this back or the shoulder. It is the place that reference how one looking over their shoulder maybe, or looking back on where they came from, or what's in the past, a kind of like reflection, or to remember. For all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And now that everybody's come up to Shechem, to this place, and we'll just refer to it as behind. For all Israel were come to that place to make Rehoboam the king. 2. And it came to pass when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, heard of it, for he was in Egypt, whither he had fled from the presence of King Solomon, that Jeroboam returned out of Egypt. And Jeroboam was that enterprising young man that Solomon didn't like. And Jeroboam was sent to, or run off to Egypt to hide, and that's what we're talking about. Jeroboam is he strives with the people, or strives with the nations, or he that caused the strife of the nations would be probably a better understanding of who Jeroboam actually was and what Jeroboam would do. He was in Egypt. Egypt was where he had sought refuge from Solomon, and that is that place of enclosures, that place of pits. He was the son of Nebat. And Nebat is that one we can look upon, or we can view as, or we can regard as. See this one you can see. 3. And they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all Israel came. And they spoke to Rehoboam, saying, and they sent and called him, and Jeroboam, all Israel, was gathered together to Shechem to make Rehoboam king. And they had brought Jeroboam up there, and they was going to make him a speaker. 4. Your father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make you the grievous service of your father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve you. Now, so what they told Rehoboam was that Solomon has taxed us grievously. Now therefore make you this grievous service of your father, and his heavy yoke, or that taxation which he has put upon everybody. See, and that yoke's going to represent that yoke, that iron yoke I was talking about, these rules of man, these requirements of man that Shemuel warned them. If they took a king, this was what went with the king. He was going to tax you. He was going to take all the goodly things to himself. And we'll find out that that's exactly what went on. And this was the wealth was so great that Solomon had to tax the people to satisfy his lust for gold and all this. And we'll find it. It's documented. It's documented in the book of Kings. 5. And he said unto them, come again unto me after 3 days. And the people departed. And Rehoboam tells them, and he was using his head here. He said, come back after 3 days. He wants to think about it a little bit. I mean, he is just the new king and just taken over. He hasn't even been anointed yet, and already is running into some trouble. 6. And King Rehoboam took counsel with the old men that had stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, saying, what counsel give you me to return answer to this people? So Rehoboam, he goes to the older gentlemen, these ones who are older, have a little experience, these ones who actually stood before the King Solomon, who had stood under his reign even for 40 years, had a little bit of understanding of what was going on in the nation. And he asked them, what do you think I should do with what these people say? And 7, and they spoke unto him, saying, if you be kind to this people, and please them, and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever. And these old men, and we're going to just view them as the wise old men, told him, if you would speak kindly to these people and do as they say, then they're going to be your servants forever. 8. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and took counsel with the young men that were grown up with him, that stood before him. But now Rehoboam was young, just taken over. He have too much energy inside his mind. And he forsook the counsel of these old men, which they'd given him, and he listens to his young buddies, 9, and he said unto them, What counsel give you, that we may return answer to this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke that your father did put upon us lighter? And he wants to ask his buddies now. He's going to ask his buddies this same question. He says, What do you think I ought to say to these people that have said to make this yoke, reduce these taxation, reduce this burden that's laid upon us by the king's house? 10. And the young men that were grown up with him spoke unto him, saying, Thus shalt you say unto the people that spoke unto you, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy, but make you it lighter unto us. Thus shalt you say unto them, My little finger is thicker than my father's loins. So now this is the response that the young men give to Rehoboam. This that was increased to the people. He represents the current king. And we're going to see, they tell him that my little finger is thicker than my father's loins. And what that basically means, the smallest finger on my hand, the smallest thing that I'll do my work with, is greater than all my father ever done. 11. And now whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. And now Rehoboam finishes up by saying, Whereas my father made your yoke heavy. See, Solomon had made their yoke heavy, laid you a heavy yoke, an iron yoke even. He says, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips. And these whips, this would be a thing used just for punishment. And that's basically what it was used for. That was another form of punishment, was a flogging, we would call it, or a open beating. It was part of a punishment that was used. He says, but I'm going to chastise you with scorpions. And these scorpions, represents these poisonous. They sting with their tail. It's about like a wasp sting. Some of them are poison. They cause great sores and festering, and some people allergic. They would die. But they don't have a stomach. And what they do is they inject the venom into their prey, and then kind of like a spider does, they will suck out what's on the inside. 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king bade, saying, Come to me again the third day. So Jeroboam now, this one who strives with the nation, or this one who's going to cause the nations to strive, and all the people come to Rehoboam the third day. And this third day, now remember, this third is to complete the portion of understanding. And this is that little understanding even that God's been making a little example of here. We can call it a little example. It's in its third generation. Even the third day. Just like he come back the third day, just like Rehoboam. They told him to come back on the third day now. And they come back, 13. And the king answered them roughly. And King Rehoboam forsook the counsel of the old men. So Rehoboam, he's not going to listen to the old men. He's not going to listen to the wisdom that's been in the land for a while. He's going to listen to his young buddies. And nothing against young people. There's a lot of understanding that has to be acquired over time. And finally we learn this after the time has passed by. 14. And spoke to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add thereto. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So he tells them just what the young guys told him to say. He says, I'm gonna tax you like you ain't been taxed before. You thought the whips were bad. I'm gonna use scorpions on you. And this is horror. This is horror. This is to strike horror, and that's not going to go over well, as we're going to find out. 15. So the king hearkened not unto the people, for it was brought about, of God, that the Lord might establish his word, which he spoke by the hand of Ahiah the Shilonite to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. And that's where we can go find this documented. See there in Kings, 1 Kings, chapter 11, just what happened when Jeroboam come out and Ahiah met him there, and what he told him was going to happen. We could find the prophecies of that at that time before he ever ran off to Egypt. We'll find it. Rehoboam's not going to listen. And God had this in mind from the beginning. See, that he might establish his word. See, because he's God. He raises up the kingdom. He'll tear the kingdom down. He'll set the kingdom up. He'll tear the kingdoms down. See, because God is going to be king no matter what it takes. And these words that he spoke by the hand, or even by the works of Ahiah, Ahiah is the brother of God. And the brother means to be of the same mother, or to share an understanding even. He, the Shilonite, and that's those from the place of rest, even that place of rest from long ago, it means to be at great rest. And these would be the words which he spoke to Jeroboam. And we're going to find out that the kingdom has been torn in half. The kingdom not only has been torn in half, it's been rent into pieces. And these pieces are distributed accordingly. We'll find out that I believe Rehoboam is going to wind up with 2 pieces, and Jeroboam will wind up with 10. 16. And when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to your tents, O Israel. Now see to your own house, David. So all the Israel departed unto their tents. And when all Israel saw that the king wasn't going to listen unto him, he was going to just make it worse and make it harder on them, they said, What portion do we have in David? What portion do we have in this one that God has established? Well, because see, we'll find out that many things had went bad. They hadn't kept the law. Sin was great in the land already. And God was going to do just what God said he was going to do. It was a qualification. If you keep the law. 17. But as for the children of Israel that dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. And Judah, that was the tribe where David was from. He would be a descendant actually of Judah through Peretz, and he remained there in Jerusalem over all the children of Israel there. And we'll find out, and from henceforth those of Judah will be called the Judah, and from those of Israel now referred to these 10 nations that have been separated. 18. The king Rehoboam sent Hadoram, who was over the levy, and the children of Israel stoned him with stones, so that he died. And King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So now the king, after all this goes down, he still takes the tax man, Hadoram, and Hadoram is that noble strength. They're trying to use this strength of nobility, see, and those noble ones, even who have exalted themselves through these twistings of strength, who were over the levy, and these are the taxations. These are these things put upon the people, we find, to satisfy the great lusts and wealth and expenditures of the king. And we'll find out when he goes in to collect the taxes, the people stone him. They stone him to death. And he dies. And Rehoboam, who obviously must have been with him, he runs, jumps in his chariot, and takes off to Jerusalem, even back to that place of peaceful teachings, to these teachings of peace. 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. So now Israel, those that contend with the mighty one, they rebel against the house of David. But we'll find out. See, God is actually punishing according to the law He said He was going to do. And He has now took the king's house. He's brought it up to the greatest thing with it, beside it, His house, even this great house of God. That's the greater house. See, and then the king's house is going to be the lesser house. The great house and the little house, big house and the little house, we can call it. He's got them there so He can show you He's God. God raises up. God does all this. It's the work of God. It's by the hand of God. It's by the work of God. We're going to move forward, chapter 11. Turn and return.